So today, we are going to crack open a book that's almost 100 years old to find some of the most powerful and honestly timeless financial wisdom you'll probably ever come across.
You ever feel like managing your money today is just chaotic? Yeah, you're not alone. We're all trying to make sense of what one source called the weird wise web. You know, this digital world just jam-packed with crypto hawkers, NFT charlatans, and self-proclaimed gurus, all promising some kind of hidden gold. It's noisy, it's confusing, and honestly, it's just completely overwhelming.
But what if the clearest path to building wealth wasn't some newfangled app or a super complex algorithm? What if it was just a simple set of stories written way back in 1926? Well, that's exactly the idea behind The Richest Man in Babylon, a total classic by George S. Clason that uses these ancient parables to teach modern financial discipline.
And what's really fascinating here is the author himself, George Clason. He wasn't a Wall Street banker or some finance bro. He was a map maker. His company actually produced some of the very first road atlases for the US and Canada. And get this, before it was a book, these lessons were just simple little pamphlets that banks handed out in the 1920s. He wasn't selling a scheme, he was literally drawing a map to financial freedom.
So, sticking with that theme, here's our roadmap for this explainer. We'll start with a secret from 1926. Then, we'll dive into how to build your fortune with what the book calls the cures, how to protect it with the laws, and finally, we'll pull it all together for Babylon's timeless lesson.
All right, first up, actually building your fortune. The book lays out 7 key principles for turning an empty wallet, what it calls a lean purse, into a fat one. Seriously, these are the absolute foundational rules for anyone who wants to start accumulating some real wealth. And the first, and by far the most important cure, is captured right here in this one quote from Arcad, the book's hero. This is the bedrock of everything else. But what does that actually mean for us today?
It means this number right here, 10%. A part of everything you earn is yours to keep. The crucial rule is to save at least 10% of every single dollar that comes your way. And listen, this isn't what's left over at the end of the month. Nope. This is the very first thing you do. You pay yourself first.
Now, in today's world, this ancient rule is actually easier than ever to follow. You just automate it. Set up an automatic transfer from your checking to your savings account for the day you get paid. You have to treat your savings like a non-negotiable bill. Think of it like paying rent to your future self. The whole goal is to make discipline the default setting.
So the second cure is just as critical. You've got to control your spending. The book warns that our necessary expenses will always grow to match our income unless we actively fight back. This is exactly what we now call lifestyle creep, that tendency to spend more just because you earn more, which leaves you in the exact same financial spot, just with, nicer stuff.
And this happens way more than you think. Just look at this story about Alex and Courtney. They were earning a great income, and at one point, they were even debt-free. But as life went on, a new baby, a wedding, more expensive rent, their spending just exploded. Even though they had over $45,000 in assets like cars and motorcycles, they found themselves arguing over the price of groceries. Alex admitted his fear of money never went away, even when he was totally debt-free. It's just a perfect example that if you don't control your spending, a higher income just means higher stress.
Okay, so you're saving 10% and you're keeping your spending in check. What's next? Well, you have to put that money to work. Money that's just sitting in a savings account or, under a mattress, it doesn't grow. In fact, thanks to inflation, it's actually losing value over time. You have to make your gold multiply.
The book uses this parable of making your savings your slave, sending it out into the world to work for you and bring back even more gold. Today, we just call this investing. And instead of trying to pick individual stocks, a great modern approach is using low-cost index funds, which spread your money across thousands of companies at once. This lets you tap into the awesome power of compound interest, where your earnings start making their own money, creating this incredible snowball of wealth over time.
Now, making money is really only half the battle. Keeping it, that's the other and, frankly, the harder half. For that, the book gives us the 5 laws of gold. Basically a guide to protecting your growing treasure from the single biggest risk out there, yourself.
So how can you tell the difference between a solid investment and a total trap? Well, the laws are pretty clear. Wise investing takes patience. It means seeking advice from people who actually know what they're talking about, and it means investing in what you truly understand. The traps, on the other hand, they promise you impossible returns, They tempt you with ventures you know nothing about, and they rely on what the book calls the alluring advice of tricksters and schemers. This quote from the fifth law of gold is such a powerful warning, and it's maybe even more relevant today than it was back then. Any scheme that promises to make you rich overnight is designed to separate you from your money, not to grow it. Real wealth is built steadily, not through shortcuts. Period.
This chart shows you the real-world cost of falling for one of these schemes. This is Arlie's story. She left a stable job that paid her $56,000 a year to join a network marketing business. You know, one of those models where sellers also have to recruit other sellers, all because she was lured in by the promise of passive income. And the result? Her income plummeted to just $300 a month. That is a drop of over 90%, and it's a brutal reminder that impossible earnings usually just lead to impossible losses.
So, after all this, after exploring how to build and protect wealth, what is the core lesson from ancient Babylon that's managed to last for nearly 100 years? It's really this. The rules of money are surprisingly simple, and they're rooted in human behavior, not in complex market trends.
So let's just do a quick recap of the big takeaways. Number 1, pay yourself first by saving at least 10% of everything you earn. Number 2, control your spending and fight that lifestyle creep. Number 3, invest that money wisely and let it compound patiently over time. And number 4, guard your wealth like a hawk and avoid those get-rich-quick schemes.
It really all boils down to this incredibly powerful idea. Building wealth isn't about getting lucky or trying to time the market perfectly. It's about developing simple, consistent, disciplined habits that you just stick with for the long haul.
And that really leaves us with one final thought to chew on. In our modern world, which is just overflowing with endless financial products and conflicting advice, could it be that the most powerful advantage of all isn't some secret algorithm or a hot stock tip, but just the timeless and maybe overlooked power of simple discipline?